Alrighty, so are you guys ready for what would be the craziest review video that I am going to do in terms of talk about these last 6 games that, as I said in part 1 of the review, if you like goals, these last 6 games were basically your wet dream because there was ton of goals that was scored in these games. There was tons of crazy action that happened in all these games, and defense decided that, yeah, they were looking forward to the All-Star break too much, and that they decided to kind of not show up in pretty much all 6 of these games that finish off match week number 24. But we start off with the goal barrage kind of action in the 6th game that I'm going to talk about in this video, with the 7-goal thriller between Toronto FC versus Nashville SC. And it started early in the 5th minute when McCarty hits it into the side netting in the back post before Bono denied Bunbury from close range. But early on, it looked like Nashville were on the front foot, and it looked like this was going to be similar to the last home performance that they had, where, they were definitely up for it in the early part and was going to get an early goal. But unfortunately, that was not the case this time. In fact, it's actually TFC, the one that gets the opening goal, and it's Jonathan Osorio scoring here to give Toronto a 1-0 lead, completely against the run of play because TFC were by far the inferior team up to that point. But to the credit of Nashville, they were on Ravel because literally a couple of seconds after the goal, of course, was scored from Osorio, Sapon almost instantly responds, but he hits the side netting in the back post. And then Bunbury had a volley that just goes high. And again, Nashville, not only they were pressing again, but this time they were hungry to get the equalizer. And they have a chance to do so, as in the 38th minute, a penalty was given to Nashville after Bono brought down Sapon in the box, which Mukhtar was able to put away that penalty to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Though it wouldn't stay tied for long, because in the 44th minute, it's Jonathan Osorio scoring again, this time from Lorea and Benedeschi. So Richie Lorea, on his return for TFC, gets on the assist chart and had a really good game in this one. But that lead would not last very long, because in the 4th minute stoppage time, Nashville would equalize again. And it's Teal Bunbury, who, remember, Teal Bunbury was kind of like the forgotten man of Nashville, and then finally he, of course, scored a goal for this team, and everybody remembered that, yeah, he's still in MLS despite his limited appearance. Well, now he has scored 4 consecutive games ever since he scored his first goal of what seems like a long time, and you can say that that's probably one of the least likely storyline we would thought that would happen in the 2022 regular season, that Teal Bunbury would be a guy that would be a goal scorer for this Nashville team and have a 4-goal streak heading into, well, he had a 3-goal streak heading into this game, and now he has scored 4 straight goals. But that's how it is in this game. And yeah, that of course ties the game up at 2 apiece, and this was getting some serious MLS After Dark energy late in the first half. And as I said in the first part of the review, and also at the first part of, or at the end of the first part of the review, please do not make a drinking game whenever I talk about MLS After Dark or MLS After Dark energy in this video, because yeah, I'm not responsible if anyone passed out or potentially died because of the fact that I'm going to mention a lot of that throughout these next 6 games. But yeah, we were tied up at 2 apiece in this one, despite, just a couple of minutes ago, this was still just a 1-0 game. But in the second half, a penalty was given to Toronto this time, as it's Lorea, the one that wants the penalty for TFC, as he was chopped down by Lovitz there. No doubt that was a penalty. I mean, Lovitz with a very cynical foul there in the box to bring down Lorea in the box, which Benedeschi steps up to score his 2nd career MLS goal and his first from the penalty spot to give Toronto the lead again. And not long after, Toronto would double that lead. And it's Lorenzo Insigne scoring his first career MLS goal from Michael Bradley. And you know that for his first career MLS goal, it has to be a good one. And this was just a classic Lorenzo Insigne kind of goal, where he basically completely ripped apart this Nashville defense. I mean, remember how this Nashville defense was supposed to be one of the best in the league? And in some way this season, it's still considered one of the best. But man, Insigne made them look like something out of USL level of defense, because he completely ripped apart that Nashville backline there, and then just with a class finish to put that one in the bottom right corner. And yeah, just like that, Toronto, of course, were up 4-2 in this game. And again, normally that should be the dagger of this game, right? But again, as I will also mention a lot during this week, this week was not a normal week, and that there was going to be more action in this one and more twists to the tale. In fact, in the 81st minute, it was almost back to a 1-goal game when Leal try to get one back for Nashville, but he drives it wide. But this came off of a bad turnover from Toronto, and this is going to be something that we're going to see for the rest of the season for TFC, where as good as their attack is, their defense is still a lot left to desire, and that they almost got punished because of turning the ball over in their own half. And we know Nashville is one of the most dangerous teams in terms of capitalizing those turnovers. But eventually Nashville did get one back as Walker Zimmerman with a powerful header from the corner, scoring from Mukhtar here to make it 4-3 in favor of TFC. Now, originally this goal was disallowed because of offside. They look at it, it wasn't offside, and as a result overturned that call. And there was no doubt the momentum was with Nashville, and they were pressing for a 4-4 game. And again, with how it has been this week and also for the past couple of weeks, a 1-goal lead, if you're the team that have that, yeah, you must be sweating it out, because you know that it's going to be a very long last bit, and that you need to really button down in your defense. And in some way, TFC did a good job to do so, but in the 6-minute stoppage time, it was almost 4-4, and probably should have been 4-4 when Mukhtar had a free header, and he missed that one wide from close range. And with how good Mukhtar has been this season, and really ever since he come to Nashville SC, you expect him to bury that one in the back of the net. But yeah, there was no doubt that was a huge sigh of relief if you're TFC, but certainly in the Nashville fans, they were fed up with this result, because despite the fact that they were treated to a 7-goal thriller, you can start to send the frustration with the Nashville fans at Geodis Park, because at full time there was a loud boo birds that was ringing around Geodis Park. And I know that Nashville isn't really considered one of the worst team in the league, and in fact they're doing okay so far this season. But obviously one of the biggest reason why they are not in the top 4 standing and they're still battling for those playoff position is the home form. I mean, the home form has been absolutely horrendous for Nashville this season. Well, I wouldn't say absolutely horrendous. I mean, maybe that's a little overboard, but it has not been great. Like, they've been dropping points left and right, and when you keep dropping points and losing a game like this in front of your home fans, I mean, yeah, your home fans are going to get frustrated, because they want to see their team win, and that feels like every week they aren't able to do that, and that, yeah, certainly some of the Nashville fans were kind of fed up by the result. But in terms of the shots in this one, 21 shots for the 10 that TFC had, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that Nashville has, 11 shots off target for the 1 that TFC had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams in an amazing 7-goal thriller. And I have a feeling this is kind of the way that TFC is going to play for the rest of the season, where this is going to be a team that's going to give up a lot of goals, but they're also going to be a team that's going to score a lot of goals. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, isn't that the same strategy that Bob Bradley did when he was with LAFC? And it feels like he's kind of doing the same thing, where it's pretty much all gas and no break, and that we'll have probably the sexiest attack in the end, and that we'll worry about the defense maybe in a little bit. And in some way, those LAFC team were very fun to watch, and they do able to get into a deep playoff run. But again, one of the things that I think for TFC that I think they should definitely address for the rest of the season, or even the all season, they need defensive reinforcement, because they cannot have these kind of result every week and expect it to be an MLS Cup contender. In fact, when you look at most of the MLS Cup contenders and teams that won MLS Cup, most of them have good defenses. We haven't seen an MLS Cup winning team that just have good attack but kind of shoddy defense and still able to lift the trophy. So that's something that I'm not saying TFC is a cup contender, but this is a team with the expectation and the money that they spent. You know that their fans are expecting that they should be a cup contender sooner or later, and that if they want to do that, they need to fix up that defense, and that they can't just give up like 3 goals every single game, as we've seen so many times this season with this defense. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Sporting KC versus the LA Galaxy. So for the first half, and really for the majority of this game, this was probably the best game that Sporting KC had. But then, yeah, it looked like they were going to go into full Sporting KC mode this season, just kind of implode in the end. But thankfully it did not happen, and it got a much needed 4-2 win in this one over the LA Galaxy. And it kind of helped for them to have a chance to win this game when they score an early goal, because they did exactly that. And speaking of a player that's scoring his first career goal, Eric Tommy scoring his first career MLS goal from Espinoza and Showery, and there's no doubt that this, along with the Insigne goal, I mean, what a way to score your first MLS Go and open your MLS account by scoring an absolute golazo, and that's exactly what happened in this. I mean, this very Nagby-esque kind of move where Tommy decided to chest that one down and then just rifle that one on the volley. And while this was not like long range like what we've seen with Darlington Nagby before, it's still impressive when you see a player able to chest it down so sweetly and hits that one on the volley no matter what the distance is. But yeah, that gives Sporting KC a 1-0 lead, and they had a chance to double that lead when a penalty was given to them after Williams handballed that one in the box, but unfortunately they weren't able to take advantage of it as Bond denied Russo in the box, and this was not a good penalty from Johnny Russo. I mean, Johnny Russo have always been great from the spot, but this is definitely one of his worst one where, you know, it wasn't well positioned and Bond just kind of had to guess the right way, make an easy save from the spot. And then in the 39th minute, we saw Bond of what could maybe be the save of the year after he not only robbed Agado in this play, but he robbed him 3 times in this play. First, just somehow able to get back his lines to just save this one from crossing over the line, and then make another save while he was on the ground, and make another save while he was on the ground too, to complete the hat trick of save. But here's the problem. It looked like the second save that he made when he was on the ground and he was kind of across the line in goal. It looked like that actually went in, and they go to VAR to check to see whether or not if that was the case, and it was. I mean, it wasn't by much, but I think that in the end they got this call right, and unfortunately, Bond goal of the year kind of save material from what we saw last to say would now be in the archive as Agado was credited to the goal with the goal, and that gives Sporting KC a 2-0 lead. Not long after, they try to make it 3-0 as Espinoza had a chance to do so, but he struck one straight to Bond. But in the 5th minute of stoppage time, they would make it 3-0. And it's Agada scoring again from Shaarawy here to give it 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy. But this kind of came off of a gift from Chase Gasper. I mean, it was a WTF turnover from Gasper to give it straight to Shaarawy. And how many times we see in this season, when you give the ball straight into your opposition in your own half, you're basically asking to get punished. And Sporting KC punished the Galaxy for that sloppy turnover. And yeah, they were 3-0 up heading in to halftime. And when I saw the score of this, I mean, I know the Galaxy have been going through a tough time, but that was a shock. The fact that Sporting KC were up 3-0 at halftime. Now in the second half, Chicharito did put one into the side netting from a tight angle, and I thought the Galaxy finally started getting into this game. But that's kind of been also the story of this season, where there's just so many times the Galaxy have find themselves like 3-0 down or find themselves in a deficit, and they finally woke up in the second half. And that, you know, if you're a Galaxy fans, it's got to be infuriating of why can't they just do that from minute one and not do it when they're actually 3-0 down heading into the second half. But I also thought that it was a combination of Sporting KC kind of letting the foot off the gas a little bit as they feel like a 3-0 lead is enough. Now, in a normal week, that definitely is enough. But this is not a normal week, and you know there's going to be crazy things that could happen at the end. Chicharito had a chance to make it 3-1, but he missed a sitter as the flag went up. I mean, he's probably fortunate the flag went up there because that was just an absolute sitter and just kind of shows you that Chicharito just have no confidence right now in front of goal. And then he had a chance to score from the free kick, or actually he tried to win a penalty here for his team, but unfortunately it was pretty clear that he basically dived there in the box. And again, the league is trying to crack down in terms of player embellish in the box, and that Chicharito, of course, as a result, gets a yellow card for diving. And then Agada on the other end tried to complete his hat trick as he actually went around Bond and looked like he was going to slot it into the empty net, but Derek Williams with goal line clearance able to deny a hat trick of Agada and Sporting KC their 4th goal. Walter then hits one straight to Bond, and I thought Sporting KC kind of started getting the control back into this game because for a while it looked like the Galaxy were trying to get one back, and maybe this is when the Galaxy feel like, yeah, they look like they're down and out and they're just going through the motion. Or are they? Because in the 83rd minute, Chicharito would score from Alvarez to make it 3-1 in favor of Sporting KC. Originally, this goal was called offside, and it was disallowed, but VAR did overturn that. And yeah, it just felt like there was new life in this Galaxy team because now all of a sudden they were trying to get themselves one back to make this a grandstand finish. And they did exactly that because a penalty was given to the Galaxy after Rosell handballed that one into the box, which Chicharito would buries that 1 to make it 3-2 in favor of the Galaxy, and it feels like it's here we go again for Sporting KC. Like, that crowd at Children's Mercy Park, they've seen the story before. It's been just a rough season for this SKC team, and it seems like they're about to add the misery of this, the list of misery for this season of them blowing a 3-0 lead. But fortunately, it did not happen because Daniel Showery made sure it did not happen as he scored here to ice this game to make it 4-2 in favor of Sporting KC. And that's the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 6 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots on goal for the 9 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots off target for the 4 that Sporting KC had, no shots that was blocked for the 3 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And overall, you know, for Sporting KC, it's been a rough past couple of games, and really this last 2 weeks has been pretty much the rock bottom point of this team. But to finally get a win, even though I know their season is pretty much done, but to just get a win and get the fans something to cheer about after just such a rough past couple of weeks that they've been through, it has to be a good positive. But for the Galaxy, I mean, like I said, it's an absolute free fall that they're going through, and as I'll do the emotion index later, and in fact after this video, I'll talk about how they're definitely going to be on that tier of just in a complete free fall, and that fan base is in a complete meltdown with the way how the Galaxy has been playing for this past month or so. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Austin versus the San Jose Earthquakes, and this game was kind of similar to the first meeting, and I kind of even mentioned it in the preview where, you know, for Josh Wolf, he cannot make that same mistake he made in the last game against the Quakes, where he decided to just kind of put the foot off the gas and maybe bring some reserve and just kind of pack it in and hope that they can secure the win. And not unsurprisingly, he tried to do the same thing in this game, and it backfired again in this one. Now, early on, Brizano was able to deny Urruti from close range, so Matt Brizano, of course, getting his first start after in the last game it was indeed what I thought was going to be true, where JT Marcinkowski unfortunately suffered a concussion. And in the 6th minute of this game, Austin would get the lead. It's Julio Cascante scoring from Fagundes to give the Verdes a 1-0 lead, and that was typical Quake set-piece defending. I mean, this team has been considered to be one of the worst teams in terms of set-piece defending in these past couple of seasons, and that was a great example of it, where Cascante, completely uncontested there in the box, hits that one in to give Los Verdes a 1-0 lead. And early on, it looked like this is going to be a long night for the Quakes, because I had a feeling Austin was just going to absolutely destroy the Quakes in this one, but it wasn't the case in this one, as we would see. And in fact, that lead that they got, it didn't last long, because in the 8th minute, Kikanovic would score from Murray and Ibobasi to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And yeah, for Brad Stuver, that was not a great moment for him, because he completely caught off guard. I mean, I think Kikanovic, not only he kind of deflected that one, but he kind of mishits that one, but it was enough to just completely fool Stuver there, which I thought he kind of got caught cheating a little bit, and that he just got completely caught flat-footed, and that ball, even though it wasn't hit with any power whatsoever, it somehow bounced into the back of the net. I mean, that is definitely not a goal that Stuver would like to look back that he conceded. And yeah, just like that, it tied the game up at 1 apiece, and then 12 minutes later, the Quakes would make it 2-1 and turn this game on its head, as Paul Marie would score what not only would be the goal of the week contention, but maybe goal of the year. I mean, this was a very Jacob Glasnes kind of strike. Or actually, I would say I'll give Paul Murray his own recognition, because, you know, he also have scored a goal like that very similar in the beginning of the season, and he did it again. I mean, I would say that he's kind of now becoming our Hassani Dotson, where, you know, if he can get on the score sheet, you know it's going to be a banger, and that was an absolute banger from 40 yards out. Like, the audacity, the fact that he tried that is just incredible, and the fact that actually went in, I mean, it was just, it stunned that crowd at Q2 Stadium. But yeah, that gave the Quakes a 2-1 lead, but unfortunately, just like how Austin took the lead, and the Quakes, of course, took the lead for the first time in this game too, it did not last long, because 6 minutes later, Dreyusi would score from Finley and Rain to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And I also mentioned in the preview, I bet that Dreyusi was going to score against this Quakes team. I mean, you know, I probably should have bet on it, because I would have definitely won money out of it. And this won't be the last time that Dreyusi would get on the score sheet. But what I will say about this game is that, yeah, there was some MLS After Dark energy into this one where no defense was found in the first 28 minutes. Like, again, both defenses, as is the case for most of these games I'm about to talk about, they decided to kind of just check out and decided that, yeah, we're already looking forward to the All-Star break, and we're not even going to think about playing in this one. Now, in the 28th minute, Stuver would rob Beeson on a point-blank header before on the other end, Pereira hits a long-range effort that goes straight to Brazano. But then, just a couple of seconds later, Triusi would get on the score sheet again, and this was not great defending again for the Quakes, especially on Judson part, where he just did not clear this one out. Like, you know, when the ball is dangling in the box, you have to clear the ball away, because if you don't clear the ball away, you're asking for an attacker to basically tap it in. But I will also give credit to Triusi there, where, you know, he does a good job in terms of getting to that, and I think even Adrian Healy mentioned it on the Austin feed that he just wanted more in this one. Like, he just wanted more in this play, and that of course gave Austin a 3-2 lead up to that point heading into the halftime break. Now in the second half, after just a wild first half where it feels like no defense was being played, it feels like maybe the defense were thinking, yeah, let's actually do play and not make the score line to be like 5-4 or 6-5 by the end of tonight. As you know, the defense kind of showed up a little bit, and that not much was happening in the first 15 minutes. Though it could have been 4-2 in the 67th minute, and probably should have been, as Ethan Finley had a big opportunity in the back post. He had an empty net to shoot at that, and of course he missed that one wide. This won't be the only time I'll talk about players that have empty net to shoot at and they miss wide, as there was some golden opportunity that we even see in some of these games that were blown, and that, you know, we already talked about there's a lot of goals that's been scored this week. There probably could have been more if those golden opportunity wasn't being blown. In the 76th minute, Brazano would, or actually no, not in the 76th, but in the 70th minute, Brazano would deny Ring from long-range effort, and then in the 75th minute, this is when the turning point of this game happened. And like I said, you know, Josh Wolf in the last game, he basically did the tactics of decided to kind of put the foot off the gas and maybe rest some of his player and bring in his reserve, and he decided to do it again in this one. Now, in the last game, maybe I can understand the fact that they have a 2-goal lead. They can, of course, do so, and that, of course, as mentioned, it turns out to backfire them. But here, I was surprised. Like, it's a 1-goal game, and you know, with how the narrative has been with a 1-goal game, and you're playing at home, you do not just simply let the foot off the gas and decide to bring in his reserve. But again, Josh Wood doesn't get that memo. He decided to bring in some of his reserve by bringing in Redis and Wolf, which must have angered a lot of Austin fans, because I know a lot of Austin fans when they mention the word Rodney Redis, there would be a lot of choice words that you're going to hear Austin fans will react about him and his team. But yeah, you know, it seems like Austin was just kind of packing in, and I even wrote it's the same tactics that he used that he did last time that Austin faced against the Quakes, and it backfired big time. And to no one's surprise, it seemed like it was going to backfire, because Austin instantly lost the grip of this game. They instantly did not have that momentum of getting that killer fourth goal. And again, the narrative this week, if you just hang on to a 1-goal lead and look to pack it in, you are going to pay for it. And it's to no one's surprise that this was the case again in this one, because in the 88th minute, it would be 3-3, as Jeremy Abobasi would score from Espinoza to tie the game up at 3 apiece, and that would be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 12 that the Quakes had, 5 shots on goal for the 6 that Austin has, 4 shots off target for the 7 that Austin had. Both teams had 3 shots on block, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Austin had in this game. But yeah, in the end, this is another their drop points performance at home, which, you know, home performance this season for Austin has been a bit of a problem. Like, they have definitely dropped a lot more points this season. Well, actually, not a lot of more points, but almost the same amount of points that they had at home compared to last season. And consider this year, it has been just a completely resurgent kind of Austin team compared to the first season. You wouldn't think that was going to be the case with them dropping points at home. I mean, this has been an incredible road team, but at home, that hasn't been the same thing, and that might be a concern for Austin, because, you know, if they do finish in second position, which seems like most likely they are going to do it with LAFC kind of running running away in the Western Conference now. That means they're going to at least have a couple of home games. And that, yeah, if they don't do well at home in the playoffs and they have a shaky home form, that could be a big problem. Because we talk about how, getting home games in playoffs is important because it has shown before that when you play at home, you do have a better advantage of moving on. But if you also struggle at home, as what we've seen with Austin at times this season, it really doesn't matter. So, yeah, let's hope that they, of course, will figure things out because, again, they just cannot figure out the Quakes. It's hard to believe the Quakes are still unbeaten against Austin, and despite the fact that this is supposed to be the best Austin team that they face, I have no idea how they were able to escape with a free draw in this one. But that being said, moving on, in the next match is LAFC versus RSL, and I'll tell you what, it's safe to say that RSL, or actually not RSL, but for LAFC, they are right now the best team in the West, and they are once again the team to beat in the West, just like what we saw back in 2019, because they pretty much blown RSL out the window out this game. I mean, I had a feeling that could happen in this one, but the performance that they put in this one just to shows you how they are a team that, I mean, a lot of people are going to have to agree that they are kind of the favorites now of winning MLS Cup, even though, again, I know that's what the media has always said, but it's the case. Like, the performance that they put, especially the form that they've been in something that is almost similar to what we saw in this team back in 2019. Now, the game, of course, was kicked off 35 minutes late, and I did mention before in the preview, with the way that this might be the first time where there's going to be maybe two Twitter streams kind of overlapping each other. Is that a possibility? The answer is no, because it turns out that MLS forgot that, yeah, you can have two Twitter games at the same time, and that, yeah, I just kind of had a feeling that maybe this game was going to be delayed because of the fact that the game between Sporting KC and LA Galaxy was going to run to 7:30 my time or 8:30 in this one, and that, of course, is the case, as this game didn't actually kick off until 8:35 of the original 8:08 p.m. kickoff time. But by the time this game does kick off, we definitely saw a lot of goals that was scored early in the game. As in the 10th minute, Chicho Arango scoring from Morelos to give LAFC a 1-0 lead. I mean, Arango just cannot stop scoring right now, and that, I think it's safe to say that he is going to stay with this team from the time being, because, again, I would think it would be just absolutely insane if LAFC decided to trade Arango with the way that he has really been a big part of this offense for these past couple of games. Well, not these past couple of games, but maybe in these past 2 months or so. But unfortunately, that lead didn't last long for LAFC, as Cordova would strike one back for RSL as he scored from Brody to tie the game up at 1 apiece. But unfortunately, that was all that RSL fans get to cheer about tonight, because LAFC wastes no time to retake the lead, and it's Calvin Acosta, the one that gets on the score sheet again. This is the thing about LAFC this season that is a little bit different to the one in 2019. In the one in 2019, we know they have the dangerous threat with Diego Rossi and Carlos Vela. This team has a lot of different threat, and, I don't think a lot of people would have thought that Calvin Acosta was going to be a threat, but he was in this one, and he got on the score sheet. But I also thought that there was definitely some serious MLS After Dark energy in this one too. I mean, 3 goals in a span of just 8 minutes, and not to mention this game is kicking off late in the East Coast, and even late in terms of an MLS standard. Like, 8:30 kickoff is not common in an MLS game, so you can definitely sense that, yeah, we're going to see some MLS After Dark kind of energy in this game too. And in the 20th minute, it looked like the lead that LAFC had, like the first time, was going to be short-lived again, but Silva could not tie the game up for RSL as he hits it high from close range. Then Arango tried to chip one over McMahon from long range, but McMahon was able to just get back on his lines to keep that one out. And then Arango tried to do it again, this time from close range just a couple of minutes later, but this time McMahon was up to the task to deny him there. But there was no doubt that LAFC was looking dangerous on the attack, and that's looking dangerous not only on the attack but also on the break, and that's kind of something we've seen them do a lot on the road, where, on the road you want to be a team that can be lethal on the counter, and that's exactly what LAFC has shown. And that the other thing that makes LAFC so dangerous is that they can beat you in every single way. They can beat you with possession, and they can also beat you on the counter attack. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Severino tried to tie it up for RSL, but he blasts one into the stands, and we had to halftime with LAFC holding on to a 2-1 lead, even though they were by far the better team for the most part of that first half. Now in the second half, they had some nervy moments as there was chaos in their own box, and that RSL was trying to take advantage of it, but they could not do so. And then I also thought that RSL kind of came out as the better team, and they were looking to try to get the equalizer. Ruiz almost had that, and in fact he almost had a Paul Marie moment when he decided to strike one from long range out about 40 yards out, but unfortunately this one struck the post, and it turns out to be a miss that RSL would regret 2 minutes later, because they would concede the third goal, and guess who? It's Chicho Arango scoring this time from Palacio to make it 3-1 in favor of LAFC, and you just kind of had a feeling that, yeah, LAFC is not losing this. As much as, this week has been crazy, one thing we know is that LAFC don't blow leads often, and especially the way that RSL came from just a pulse away from tying the game to now giving up on the other end in quick succession. It's an absolute backbreaker to the morale of this team, and that was kind of the case for the rest of the game, because they really never threatened after LAFC got that third goal. Though in the 69th minute, we had Chiellini decided that he was going to play volleyball, because he stopped a counter attack by deliberately blocking a through ball with his hands, which, not only the fact that I wrote peak MLS moment, but probably peak shithousery moment, and a moment that really kind of blown up on social media. Like, I saw a lot of social media feed talking about this moment, and rightfully so, because Chiellini is one of the more recognizable name in terms of world soccer, in terms of the defensive part. But also, this maybe is a peak Chiellini moment, because we know that Giorgio Chiellini, during his time with Italy and also all his time with Juventus, he is a master of dark arts. He is a guy that knows the dark arts very well, and he knows how to use it when it's necessary. And while maybe this moment might not be the necessary moment to do so, I mean, it makes for a great laugh, the fact that he of course decided to do that, because that's something that I don't think we see in an MLS game often. And again, with how crazy it is, it would be a perfect time for that to happen. And at the end of the day, I mean, depending on how you feel like it, you might just kind of laugh this one out. But I think in an RSL perspective, you probably are not laughing, and you probably are thinking, how in the world did Chiellini not got a red card for just such a deliberate handball? And then I basically will counter by saying, yeah, according to the rules, you can't get a red card on a handball unless if you deliberately deny a goal score opportunity, which this obviously was not the case, because this happened like literally in RSL's own box. But either way, after that kind of good little chuckle, LAFC were trying to get that fourth goal, but McMath was able to deny Bale from close range. But in the 87th minute, Bale was not going to be denied. In fact, he scored a great solo goal here, a very Gareth Bale kind of goal from Chicho Arango to make it 4-1 in favor of LAFC. So Chicho Arango, what a game he had! 2 goals and 1 assist in this one, and overall just a game that just shows you why it is really the LAFC is kind of the team to beat right now in the Western Conference, because this was just a performance to shows you why that they are definitely serious about being a team that is trying to compete for MLS Cup. And if they can keep playing like the way that they do, which we'll see whether that can continue, because we have seen some impressive performance that an MLS team have puts in. But it's always hard to try to sustain that week in and week out, especially as we head into the playoffs. But if they can keep this kind of performance up, yeah, I have a feeling LAFC could maybe be finally that team to break the dominance of seeing a Cascadia team representing the West in MLS Cup. But in terms of the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 14 that LAFC had, 3 shots on goal compared to 8 that LAFC had, 8 shots off target compared to 4 that LAFC had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that LAFC had. And for RSL, yeah, they was just a victim of being facing against a team that is just an unstoppable force right now in the Western Conference. But that being said, I'm going to switch board and now look at the last 2 games that happened in terms of finishing up a crazy week that is match week number 24 of the 2022 MLS regular season. But moving on, in terms of the next game, is Colorado and Minnesota. Now, I knew coming into this game, this was probably going to be an automatic L for the Loons, knowing how shorthanded that they are, and that Dick's Sporting Goods Park is basically the house of horror whenever Minnesota play on the road against the Colorado Rapids. But when I look at how this game went, I mean, it feels I kind of had the same feeling as I did with the 4-4 resort last week against the Portland Timbers, where I don't know how to feel about it, and that I kind of have a mixed emotion of the fact that, well, the Loons did fought hard in this game, and that the attack, I think, pretty much have now answered the question that, you know, if they do not have Reynoso, are they screwed? And the answer to that is no, because it seems like they're still scoring even without their best attacking player. But also, the thing that was a big negative for the Loons in this game is obviously that shorthand, the defense and midfield just completely imploded. And not to mention, Dane Sinclair decided to go back to the same form that he had in the first 4 games of last season, and kind of the reason why he was bench for Tyler Miller during last season. Now, early on, Minnesota actually got the opening goal in this one as Abu Danladi, of all player to score for this team. I didn't think Abu Danladi was going to be on the score sheet. In fact, when I saw Danladi being on the starting 11, I felt like this was going to be a long night for the Loons, and that it's quite crazy the fact that I'm still seeing him starting games when how in the world he's shown to be a regular starters when he, or well, not regular start, but even getting minutes when we know that he's not good enough with this team. But hey, at least he proved it here as he scored from Amaria to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead, and it was a dream start for a shorthanded Loons team, though that dream start quickly evaporated because in the 6th minute, after Barrios tried to respond quickly but puts it over the bar, Zardes would ties the game up at 1 apiece, and that was just an absolute nightmare for Dane Sinclair. And I even wrote Dane Sinclair nightmare form continued, because for these last couple of games, especially in the last game against the Portland Timbers, he has been very, very poor, and that something tells me this maybe be the game that could be similar to what happened last season, where last season it was the Colorado Rapids that he faced, that he eventually lost his job to Tyler Miller, and this could be the same case again this season, because in this play, he just simply dropped a routine ball, and Zardes was there to pounce on it to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And not long after, Colorado would take the lead. It's Rubio scoring from Rosenberry to give the Rapids a 2-1 lead. And, well, I do have question of Dane Sinclair of why he decided to not come out his lines to get to that one, because that ball kind of was in the air for a very long time. We usually see goalkeeper can easily claim to that one. But you also got to question the Loons defense. Like, whenever if a goal that came from a throw-in, you know that there's some serious question with that defense, and that defense just completely switched off at that moment. And actually, I wouldn't say switch off, but just completely ball watch in that moment. Like, all those guys in that box was just ball watching that one as the ball comes into the box, and they pay the price for that. And just like that, Colorado was able to quickly take a 2-1 lead, and not long after, it would be 3-1 in favor of the Rapids, as Zardes would score again, this time for Barrios to make it 3-1 in favor of the Rapids. And even though Barrios did not score in this game, and you know Barrios has always been a Loons killer whenever he faced against Minnesota, he did get on the assist chart here, and I even immediately wrote the makeshift defending in midfield was just imploding. Like, the amount of time that the Rapids were able to get past that midfield and get past that defense on the transition with ease was something reminiscent to what we saw in the last game against the Portland Timbers. But I also will say that Dane Sinclair looked like he was completely rattled. Like, I don't know what kind of glove that he basically bought to this game, but those gloves must be some of the most slippery gloves I've ever seen, because he was dropping every single ball that was coming into the box, which is why I was kind of surprised the Rapids didn't test him more. Like, when you have that kind of moment, I would have assumed that the Rapids were going to test him more and maybe loft those balls that come into the box, because you know Dane Sinclair confident is just absolutely shattered. But they kind of stopped doing that, and it kind of allowed the Loons to get themselves back into this game. Danladi trying to score his second goal of the game, but he hits one straight to Yarbo. But in the 43rd minute, Minnesota gets one back. It's Luis Amarilla scoring from Benitez to pull within 1 for the Loons. And, you know, Luis Amarilla, what a turnaround season it's been. I mean, it was not long ago that everybody was asking what in the world is going on with Luis Amarilla. Is he going to be another one of those strikers that join a long list of number 9 on this team that are always tends to be cursed whenever they play for this team in that striker position? But these last couple of games, you can see he is definitely in a great form, and that he's almost kind of in your typical striker form, where as soon as you were able to get a goal to break out that drought, yeah, that Chaco has now completely off, and that he is just scoring bangers like that, where this was kind of an off balance goal from a tight angle, and somehow he still were able to find a way to bang that one in from a tight angle. And yeah, that gives the Loons some life in this game and give them potentially momentum heading into the second half. But that momentum looked like it was all shattered because the game was delayed because of lightning, and that the game didn't restart it until 9:39, as we had like almost over an hour long halftime break. And when you ever have like that long of a lightning delay, that does in favor for the team that maybe we're reeling a little bit, and it shouldn't be a big surprise that the Rapids definitely come out the second half the better team, because despite the fact that Rosales did have the first opportunity of the half as he's fired it high from long range, this is when Colorado started to took over. But this is also when Dane Sinclair decided that he's realized that he's an all-star goalkeeper, and started to realize what made him great, because he started to make some big save, first denying Zardes after he went through on goal. And again, Dane Sinclair I thought looked much better coming out of the long break, and then he denied Barrios in the back post. And again, Colorado was no doubt the stronger side, and they were trying to press for that fourth goal, but it looks like we're seeing vintage Dane Sinclair again, bailing this team out because of them decided to play no defense whatsoever. He would then deny Rubio in the 57 minutes, but then in the 60th minute, yeah, you know how Dane Sinclair was absolutely horrendous in the first half in these past couple of games. Yeah, it seems like his bad form went back in the 60th minute, because Jarzy Zardes would complete his hat-trick in this play, but it probably shouldn't have happened if Dane Sinclair didn't allow a juicy rebound. Like, that ball wasn't hit very hard, and again, Dane Sinclair just doesn't seem like he's able to catch the ball with whatever gloves that he was wearing in this, and just allow a juicy rebound that Zardes pounced on it, and just like that, the Rapids were able to restore the 2-goal lead. And Zardes actually almost made it 5-3, or actually not 5-3, but 5-2 in this one, and almost scored his fourth goal, but he just missed that one wide. And again, just zero defending that was being played by the Loons, and that it feels like they have gone road heave mode, or I wouldn't say they have gone road heave mode, because in order to be in road heave mode, they have to have the lead, and then they blow it late. But more like they just in giving up mode right now, with the way that there's no way that they can come back from this. Lewis then went through on goal and tried to chip it over Dane Sinclair. Again, Dane Sinclair confidence was once again shattered. He came out his lines way too late here, and Lewis almost caught him out there, but that one missed high. But then in the 69th minute, Hansen blasted high from close range before Kimiguchi blasted high in the 74th minute, and surprisingly, the Loons started to show some life. Like, it feels like they kind of weathered the storm that the Rapids were putting on, and they started to show some life and really started to maybe pull one back. And I think this is also a combination of the Rapids maybe put their foot off the gas a little bit too soon, because we've seen so far from this week, if you put your foot off the gas way too soon, despite having the lead, even a 2-goal lead, it's not safe. Because after Yarbrough was able to deny Huwane on the header on that ensuing corner, Brent Coleman would score from Rosales to make it 4-3 in favor of the Rapids, because of course Brent Coleman would score a troll goal to just troll the fan base that he is still decent. I mean, him alongside with pretty much that entire back line was absolutely shocking, but that he's trying to hide the fact that he still scored a goal in this one, and it was a great goal that he scored in this one. I mean, just a great bullet header that Yarbrough basically had no chance whatsoever. And you also kind of had to question that Rapids defense, like, how in the world did Brent Coleman find that much space to head that one in? But either way, that gives the Loons a goal back into this game, and most importantly, the 4-4 dream is still alive, and it feels like we're in for another 4-4 game. Are we in this one? As much as there's been a couple of these games that could have easily ended 4-4, it's kind of sad that unfortunately none of them did happen, though it could have happened if Huwane actually went through on goal, and with the form that Bongi Huwane has been through, I thought he was going to slot that one home to make it 4-4, but Yarbo with a big save there to robbing Huwane a chance to make this a 4-4 game. And then Amaria tried to score his second goal, but he hits that one wide. But you can definitely sense it was all hands on the pump for the Rapids. Like they were feeling the heat and feeling that, is this going to be like one of those games where we're going to be the latest victim of giving up a late goal because we just decided to pack it in the latter part of this game. And fortunately for them, they were not, because they were able to hold on to win 4-3 in this one. And the shots in this one, 18 shots for the 14 that Minnesota has, 9 shots on goal for the 7 that the Loons had, 5 shots off target for the 6 that the Rapids had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Minnesota has in this one. And like what I said about Vancouver, for the Rapids, for a team that is able to get a win and in that playoff hunt and in that big jumble of a mess we see in the Western Conference, well, pretty much every team in that jumble of mess were either losing or dropping points. That has to be a huge bonus, and they have now got themselves in a really good spot of getting themselves back above the red line. But for the Loons, again, I just, this game is one that, I have mixed opinions about it. I mean, on one hand, I was happy about the fact that the attack still looks very strong even without Reynoso. I mean, can you imagine if Reynoso did play in this game? Maybe the Loons would have actually got at least a point out of this one. And the fact that I kind of also knew that, this short-handed midfield and defense were not going to hold up, which is why, we saw the signing of Jonathan Gonzalez the other day, and hopefully he's going to be immediately stepping in to try to relieve a very short-handed midfield that this team has had. But at the same time, I'm kind of disappointed with the way that some of the goals that they gave up probably wouldn't have happened if there was a decent goalkeeper. And this is where I get to the conversation of Dane Sinclair, and that, there's got to be a big decision that Adrian Heath's going to have to make in the All-Star break of whether or not is this going to be the second year in a row we see Dane Sinclair getting benched after losing to the Colorado Rapids. And I really don't have an answer to that, because, I can make case why he should be benched, and I can make case why he shouldn't be benched. I mean, why he should be benched is because this is not the first time this has happened. This happened against Portland. This has happened in previous games before, where his confidence is just completely shattered. But then I also will make the case of why he shouldn't be benched, because you simply just hope that he eventually will figure it out, and just going from different goalkeeper isn't always going to solve the cases. And especially again with Dane Sinclair being the future of this Loons team in terms of the goalkeeping position, you just gotta trust that he will eventually figure it out. And for me, I really hope he does, because these last couple of games he has cost this team points. I mean, I will say that the defense haven't helped him, but some of those ones that, especially in this game where he just simply had probably the worst game he has as a goalkeeper for this Minnesota United team, he needs to figure it out, or else there could be a real issue with this team down the stretch. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is the Portland Timbers versus FC Dallas. And for a long time, this looked like it was going to be a 0-0 draw. And again, in a normal week, this would have been a 0-0 draw, but this is not a normal week. And there's got to be some shenanigans to close out of what turns out to be one of the craziest, if not the craziest week we've seen in MLS this season. Now, in the first half, just 2 minutes in, Tuiluma blasted into the Timbers army from long range before there was a shout for a handball for the Timbers that was not given. But I thought it was a lively start for both of these teams, as both of them was looking to get an early goal. Though eventually things did kind of calm down a little bit, and I think the heat might have slowed things down, because it was actually relatively hot in this one. I mean, the temperature were in the upper and mid 80s, which it might not sound hot in other places, but for Portland, that is definitely a hot kind of hotter condition than usual. Though in the 28th minute, Arriola came the closest of scoring as he struck the post as he went through on goal, and I also thought that probably shouldn't have happened if the Timbers didn't give away the possession in their own half, and that I immediately wrote the Timbers got away with a brutal turnover that we've seen so many times in these past couple of weeks. It has been punished. Moreno then went through on goal, but he hits it right to pass, so Moreno was trying to do something similar that he did in the last game, but this time he wasn't able to convert. I thought the Timbers, no doubt, was looking good on the build-up, but the final ball was just lacking. Like, every time when they tried to get into the final third, that's when it just kind of all broke down. On the other end, Velasco puts it high from long range in the 42nd minute, and despite the fact that there was some big chances for both teams, we remained scoreless heading into the second half. And the second half, Ivicic would deny Fiera from close range, as I thought Dallas actually started the second half the better side and was controlling the possession. Ariola went through on goal, and he actually rounded the goalkeeper, but unfortunately he missed that one wide. Before on the other end, Asprilla blast one into Washington State, and it might be a sarcasm, but it looked like with the way that ball kind of was traveling, that looked like it was going to be going to Vancouver. And I'm not talking about Vancouver, BC, but more like the lesser known Vancouver, Washington, that is a suburb in Portland. But in the 65th minute, Larea would miss wide from close range, and I thought a goal seems like it was coming for both of these teams. I mean, there's been some golden opportunity. Both teams were racking up some chances. It only takes one moment of magic for one of these teams to score, and it looked like that moment happened in the 68th minute when Jesus Ferreira puts the ball into the back of the net. The only problem is he was in an offside position, and the goal, of course, was disallowed because of it. Paz then denied Larea in the front post before Tuiluma had a header that goes high in the 81st minute. In the 84th minute, Velasco had an empty net to head it in, but somehow he missed that one. I mean, that was an Erling Haaland kind of moment for Velasco, an empty net to head it in, and just a moment for him to score a big goal for Dallas in terms of improving their playoff chances. And yeah, unfortunately, like the cases for most of this game, he was just not able to find that clinical finishing. In fact, that's exactly what I said, where the clinical finishing was clearly not there for both teams, and it looked like this was going to be only the second 0-0 draw, and that maybe this is going to be a game that kind of ends up to be the anticlimactic of how this week would end. But that turns out it wasn't going to be the case, because in the 86th minute, after Blanco blasted wide from long range, a penalty was given to the Timbers in the 5th minute of stoppage time, when VAR deemed that Hedges handballed that one in the box, and in the end, I think it was the right call, because that was an outstretched arm there from Matt Hedges. And yeah, that gives the penalty for the Portland Timbers, which Larea was able to step up, and he actually got this one. Actually was saved from Paz originally. I mean, it was a good penalty from Larea, but Paz just gets this one the right way. But the only problem is that one, that save that Paz made, he palmed it right into the path of Larea, or in other words, the ball kind of fall kindly back to Larea, and he tapped that one home to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. Game over, right? Well, no, because again, this is not a normal week. There has to be some madness, and there has to be some MLS After Dark kind of energy in this one. And there was, because in the 10th minute of stoppage time, Diego Chara unfortunately scored an own goal, and this was kind of one of those one where the ball was whipped in from the corner, and everybody was trying to go for it, and unfortunately this was the case where Diego Chara was on the wrong side of just basically heads it into his own net. I mean, we've seen this happen many times with defenders, or even goal scorer from the attacking team to try to head that one in, and it's, if you're a defense team, that's definitely not a good moment to swallow the fact that you're trying to head that one out, but you end up just heading into your own net. And yeah, that of course ties the game up at 1 apiece. And also, I know a lot of Timbers fans are probably very mad at the fact that there shouldn't be 10 minutes of stoppage time when there's only 5 minutes. Well, here's the problem: VAR took most of those times, and I've said this before, and I said this again, and it's kind of like the old saying: you play to the final whistle. You don't just simply switched off, even if we're pretty much play past the stoppage time. And there's also a reason why whenever the PA announcer mentions stoppage time, it's a minimum of that stoppage time. It doesn't mean that we play to that stoppage time. It's only a minimum of that, and it was pretty clear that we were going to play more than just 5 minutes in this one, especially the goals will actually score past that 5 minute of stoppage time. And in the end, Dallas, give them credit, able to fight back to tie the game up. And that, I think overall, a draw is kind of fair with this result, because this was a game where both teams had some good opportunity, and it was gonna end in either two-way. Either one of these teams was finally gonna bury that opportunity to get the 3 points, or the fact that it's gonna end up in a 0-0 draw where neither team was able to finish their opportunity, though we didn't think that one of the cases that could also happen is both teams would get 2 stoppage time goal to kind of cancel each other out, like what we saw in this one. But like I said, it's not a normal week in MLS, and you know that there has to be one last twist of tail up to end up of what just has been a firework and crazy week of MLS action that we've seen this week. But in terms of the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 7 that Dallas had, 5 shots on goal for the 2 that Dallas had, 3 shots off target for the 7 that the Portland Timbers had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Dallas has in this game. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of probably the craziest review that I've done so far. And you know, even though this was a bit of a long review for just a 6-game action to talk about, there's just so much craziness that I have to spend extra long in terms of talk about some of these goal fests that we saw in these 6 games. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.